Hello everybody, it's Eleanor in Eleanor's Place. Up at my mum's today and I'm in the greenhouse at the minute. The tomatoes have really come on, they're lovely, absolutely lovely. I don't know how you've been coping with all this heat. It's got me down a bit, to be honest, because I can't do a lot in that sort of heat. I just sit on a deck chair in the shade and ignore everything because I just can't do it. I don't know about you, but I just can't do it. I actually went up to the allotment on Thursday and tried to do a bit of work there. I took the lawnmower up there because it's a battery operated lawnmower, and I actually started to cut the grass, and must have been there a couple of hours, and by the time I'd finished I was absolutely exhausted and I just went home and collapsed and had to have a sleep for half an hour. So not recommended, you know. So anyway, I'm up here in the greenhouse. I've not been in here for about 5 days, and I've come in and there was a whole load of tomatoes, and I must share it with you. Come on, let me show you. Look in here. Look at all these beautiful plum tomatoes, absolute belters. Look at that, fab. And every week now I know I'm going to be getting a pot like this. There must be about 2 pounds of tomatoes in that pot, so all the effort's there. I've got to keep feeding them now, so I have a feed. You can use Tomarite if you want, or you can just use any of the unbranded versions that the supermarkets and things do. It doesn't matter. They all do the same thing really. But I do find, because I don't plant my tomatoes into grow bags and I don't tend to use a lot of compost like a lot of other people I've noticed, they must spend a fortune on bags of compost. I don't do that. I make my own compost in the compost bins at the back here, and then in the beginning of the year, before anything goes in, I empty the compost heap and there's a load goes on here. But tomatoes are hungry plants, we know this, and they need a lot of help. So as soon as they start their fruiting, I have to start feeding them. So I have started feeding them, but I notice, I'll show you one. It's only one of the small ones. Look, it's a lovely little plum tomato, but then when I go like that, look, oh dear. Now I've googled this, and I think what it is, there's a couple of little specks on one other one. I'll show you on this one. They're perfectly edible. I just trim these bits off. It's an edible fruit, there's nothing wrong with it, but I believe it's down to calcium lack. So I've been feeding them for a few weeks and the condition seems to be clearing up. So it's not, they won't all be affected by it. So every week now when I water, I have to make sure that I give them a good feed. So make sure you feed your tomatoes. They're really hungry, greedy plants. They need a lot of help. And the other thing I've been doing this last week, well actually was it last week? It might have been the week before actually. I pulled up all the onions that I have in at my mum's, and they're here now. And let me just show you. Can I show you these? Look at those. There are 40 onions here. Look at these. They're a good size onion as well. I've got a really good crop. So my dad used to string these up. He was really good at it, but he didn't show me how to do it, and he's gone now, bless him. So I can do like a makeshift affair, weaving them together and things, but I'm not that good at them. But what you want to do if you're going to string them up, you need to cut off that little hairy end with a pair of scissors, rub on the skins, because some of them, like this one here, show you, whoops, there you go, it rubs away and there's a nice clean bit. And then you're just going to tie them together and then you can plait the stems together, but I think the weight of the onion, I find plaiting works with garlic, no trouble at all, but with onions I think they can be a little bit too heavy and they'll fall down, and you know, you'll come back to your string of onions one day and they're not a string, they're all over the floor. So personally I don't bother, I just let them dry here in the greenhouse on here, and then when they're ready I trim the tops, trim the roots off, rub all the dirt and the loose skins off, and store them in a net bag. And they're fine, absolutely fine. If any look as if they're just starting to soften, then they're the ones that get used first. Keep the goodies for last. But I think between what I've got here and what I've got at the allotment, I must have coming up for 150 onions. So I'm not going to need, well, actually I'll have more than that because I've got the Ailsa Craig ones as well, and they're quite big. They're bigger than these. In fact, that, which anybody will call a good sized onion, is small by Ailsa Craig standards. They're massive. They're like half the size of my head, and they're coming on really nicely. So I'm hoping that they will hang on a little bit longer. Remember, you wait for the stems, the tops to drop over. Once that happens, that means that they can't feed anymore and they will not increase in size. So that's it, they're done. So once the tops bend over, dig them out, shake off as much of the soil as you can, and leave them somewhere where they can just dry out. Some people hang them up upside down through mesh. I just put mine evenly out on the workbench in here because I've got the room. It's whatever suits you really, but they've got to dry out, and then any that look as if they might be a little bit soft, just use them quickly and they'll be fine, no problem at all. I've got something else to show you, so come on, let me show you. I'm very excited to show you this. So I'm sorry if I'm shaking you around a little bit. I always whisper when I come outside because everybody will think I'm talking to myself, which I suppose I am in a way, but let me show you. I'll turn you round. Look there. What a lovely little pumpkin. He's gone lovely and golden. Isn't he gorgeous? Now if I come up here and show you up here, sorry about this, there's another one, oops, there, can you see him? Isn't he lovely? And it's a good size. In fact, he's bigger than the other one. There's two smaller ones just here. There we go. There's two there. And there's another one here. Just there. He's a little bit behind the other one. But you can see it's going a nice golden colour gradually. Coming up lovely. So I must have another 4 or 5 up at the allotment. And so I'm not going to be short on pumpkins, and really I would like to be able to find a few nice recipes that use pumpkins. Maybe a nice pumpkin soup would be good. Anyway, I will do my best to find a few recipes, and I will try and outline them to you so that you've got some ideas. I've not been a pumpkin grower really before. I've always left them, and I just grew one last year. In fact, I didn't even grow it. Somebody gave it me and I turned it into a fabulous lantern. He looked lovely. But other than a lantern, I've never really used them. But I've got so many now. I must have between 5 and 10 pumpkins on the go, which is quite a lot really. So I really need to try and use them up and make use of them. Maybe keep one good one for a pumpkin lantern, and other than that, get them used up. So yeah, so there we are. So at the moment we're on tomatoes, onions, pumpkins. I'm up to my eyes in courgettes. I bet you are too. Loads of runner beans. The French climbing beans are a little bit later for me this year because the first ones I put in failed, but I did direct sow and they're coming on nicely, and they've just got little 3-inch beans on them. So I think in the next couple of weeks I'll have French climbing beans as well. I've got broad beans in the freezer. I've got peas in the freezer. I've got loads of chard. I've got beetroot and all sorts of stuff on the go. Oh, and my mashed potato squash are coming on. They must be about 4 or 5 inches long now, so it won't be long before I'll be taking a couple off. They tend to get to about 8 inches normally. They're quite big, but they do store well, so you can keep them in a tray you know, I keep mine in one of these mesh trays and just get them out as and when, and they'll sit there for months without any trouble whatsoever. So don't worry if you've got a glut of those. Courgettes, I chop mine up and freeze mine and then just pop them into stews and things. Just try and use them as much as I can. So anyway, that's it. So that's where we're up to at the minute, and I'll keep you informed of what's going on. The weather's starting to cool down a bit, thank goodness. Haven't been able to cope for the last week, it's been a nightmare, but it is cooling down a bit. We're getting a bit more like our normal weather, thank goodness. All right, so happy gardening, and I'll see you soon, and I hope you like this video. All right, bye bye.